Welcome to Integrated Health of Indiana's walking the talk, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. But Jessica, say hi.
Hi.
And I are taking a walk on the People Trail, and thought I would take a moment to just talk about some of the things that I've learned and am learning about general health. And as a lot of you guys know from from my past and from my history, my mother in 2012 passed away all of a sudden, and that kind of started my curiosity as into why would my mom, who basically cooked healthy and did everything that she was supposed to do, why she would die from sudden death or cardiovascular disease. And my dad, who, God love him, he would be one that you would say does not have a healthy lifestyle, and yet he's still going. Part of that probably does play into genetics, but another thing is Dad always just kind of eats wild game all the time, makes all of his food basically from fresh food, fresh vegetables and stuff like that. But Mom always did what was right or scientific, and we cooked in canola oil, and we cooked in, I think we even had margarine for a while. And now years later we know that those aren't the things to do. So what does this all have to do? We're taking a moment and thinking about inflammation, because inflammation is what really starts to set all of this off. And it's a very vague and general term. How do we control inflammation? And so one of the things that I started to do was take a look at who has the least amount of cardiovascular disease in the world and who has the worst cardiovascular disease in the world. And lo and behold, who do you think has the worst cardiovascular disease? I'm going to show you a graphic here. You look at this graph, and you see all the way up in the top corner there, that's the United States. And we are dead last when it comes to ranking of omega-3 content in our diet and the rest of the world. And typically in America we get lots of omega-6s and lots of omega-9s, and so that piqued my curiosity. So we started carrying the Lipid Labs test at the clinic, and this is a blood spot test. So we can take a finger prick and we can test your blood. And the first time I tested my blood, it came back as a 5%. And so if you look at this, you want 50% or greater for your omega-3 fatty acid content in the blood. And it's very, very fascinating that we get lots of oils, but we get bad oils. And we use omega-3 oils to cook in, so canola oil is an omega-3 fatty acid, but we also know that it's highly unstable. So when you start to cook with this, even olive oil, when you cook with olive oil and you start to reach that smoke point, you're oxidizing the oil at that time, and now you're going from a cardioprotective, anti-inflammatory type of oil to a reactive oxygen species, which is causing a problem. And so the United States ranks last in this. And if you want some more things to know about this, actually the higher your omega-3 fatty acid content, EPA kind of correlates very loosely to, hey, we're not the only ones breaking the law on the closed trail. EPA kind of correlates to systolic, and DHA actually kind of correlates lower the systolic pressure. The higher the DHA content in the blood, the lower the diastolic. And I have a study from the National Institute of Health which correlates that. It's kind of a retroactive study. I don't really like these types of studies because correlation does not equal causation, but it does show in a meta-analysis the effect of EPA-DHA on blood pressure. So you really want to know what your EPA-DHA level is, and then you got to start to work on it. The funny thing that I found out was the body actually selects for the omega-3 fatty acids. So when you are eating salmon, smash fish have the highest amount of omega-3 fats in it. So your salmon, herring, anchovies, what else is there? Salmon, herring, anchovies, fish, sardines. Oh, I said herring in the beginning. But with that all being said, those are more cardioprotective, and they allow the body to select for the omega-3s rather than the omega-6s. So omega-3 fatty acids are also very anti-inflammatory. And Dr. Thomas Dayspring posted up some research, actually posted up a question with a hypothesis that said, hey, omega-3 fatty acids, even omega-6 fatty acids, if you have a good concentration of good ones in the bloodstream, seem to be antiviral in nature and tend to be protective against the virus. It seems to be very antiviral. Oh, we got some ducks. They're in the retaining pond. But those, but for inflammation and even for antiviral properties, it seems to help the lipid layer be more resistant to viri. And I have a very limited understanding of that. I could be wrong, but essentially what he put out and said was, hey, having high content of omega-3s, it seems to be protective. So at least the hypothesis is sound, and we're waiting to see how it plays out. But if you have high omega-6 and omega-9, you are inflammatory by nature, and that just causes a problem for you. So that's why it's always nice to test your omega-3 content. Like I said, I use Lipid Labs, and after I started just taking the Metagenics product that we carry called Megagenics EPA DHA High Concentrate, I took that for about 6 months. I took a tablespoon a day, so I was getting about 8,000 milligrams a day. At that point in time, I retested, and I had a 48% omega-3 saturation content in my bloodstream. My heart rate also went back down to my resting heart rate of 38, and my blood pressure normalized out. So, all a good day. So now, how does that talk about, or what does that say about cardiovascular disease? So in that report that you get from Lipid Labs, when you look at that report, it stratifies all the countries, and the countries with the least amount of heart attack and cardiovascular disease are the Inuit, the Japanese, and the ones from Greenland. And funny enough, they have very high omega-3 content. So, rocks and shoes. So, if anybody has any questions about those, I would love to answer any questions. If you want to know what your omega-3 content is, just call us and we'll get you in to do the blood spot test. And if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. Everybody, stay safe. Get out, do a little walking, keep your social distancing, and just know that we will all get through this.